Hey there, guys. Welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies. Today, we're in the middle of March 1989. We're looking at the newest releases that came out during the week of March 17th. Okay, mostly new releases. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But let's start with the movie that ended up being the #1 movie in the country that weekend. Chevy Chase returning in one of the two sequels he was in 1989, Fletch Lives. Yeah, needless to say, Fletch Lives doesn't really live up to the same level that the first Fletch movie did. I mean, the first Fletch was a really funny movie. This one definitely has a lot of sequelitis to it. Obviously, the better sequel that Chevy Chase was in, we'll get to a little bit later on in the year, around Christmas time. I don't think I need to say what it is, but that to me, that's the better movie here. But Fletch Lives isn't terrible. I've seen far worse. I don't think it's one of the worst comedy sequels ever, but it's like I said, it suffers a lot from sequelitis. It doesn't really have a whole lot there to make it stand out on its own. It's just mostly Chevy Chase doing the same thing he did in the first movie, which can be funny, and there are times in this movie when it is really funny, but it's not. It's nowhere near as good as the first movie. Unfortunately, it's your typical comedy sequel. It's got some decent moments here and there, but it's definitely less than subpar compared to the original. So decent film, but nothing too special. It's definitely just go watch the first movie if you really need to see it. I wouldn't rush out to see this new one. Just see this new one, the second film, I mean. But yeah, just watch the first one again. Speaking of retreads, how about another underwater alien horror ripoff? Here's Leviathan. Interestingly enough, C.J. Molina, Miguel Ferrer was in Deep Star 6, and RoboCop Peter Weller is in this movie, so they were both in movies about underwater alien creatures, and you could probably say this is probably the better of the two, but neither one of these movies are really all that good. I mean, they're both pretty much the same thing. They're just alien underwater, and this is more like The Thing, too, kind of more. Like, Deep Star 6 was at least kind of like Alien meets Friday the 13th. This one just takes it like Alien and The Thing. And even has the same person who did the special effects for Alien, Stan Winston, doing the creature effects here. And, I mean, it's just not a good movie. Like, even though they got a good cast in here, Peter Weller, Richard Crenna, Daniel Stern, Ernie Hudson, Lisa Albacher, Hector Elizondo, it just didn't work. It just doesn't work as a movie overall. So, yeah, now we gotta wait for the real good underwater sci-fi movie to come out, which won't come out until the summer. So let's move on to the next movie. And you know what? If you don't want to see Fletch Lives, you don't want to see Leviathan, you can always go see a Disney classic. Yes, The Rescuers came back to theaters this weekend in 1989. I don't know if this was timed well or not, because Rescuers Down Under came out the year after this. Part of me thinks that Disney put The Rescuers out this weekend to see how well a sequel could potentially do. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if it was still in production by the time this re-release came out, but not a bad theory to have on this one. But yeah, The Rescuers, classic movie, fun adventure movie. Bob Newhart, Ava Gabor working off each other really well. The animation's great. The songs are pretty good. The adventure aspect is very fun. It's a good, fun Disney movie. Not one of the better Disney animated classics, but still a classic. But still a great movie all around. I really enjoy it. So let's move on to the next movie. And you want to see what the director of West Side Story, the original West Side Story, did for his last theatrical. Yeah, this was the last movie Robert Weiss did before he passed away. Theatrical release. He did do one TV movie in 2000, but other than that, this is the last thing we have to remember theatrically from the director of West Side Story, The Haunting, The Sound of Music, The Sand Pebbles, Star Trek, The Motion Picture. Ripping off Breaking. That's pretty much all this is just ripping off Breaking. Next thing you know, you'll tell me that Merchant Ivory tried to rip off Breaking too. Yeah, Merchant Ivory tried to rip off Breaking as well, but yeah, when you think Merchant Ivory, is this what you really think of? Struggling artist in New York City during the mid-1980s? I don't think so. You got Bernadette Peters, you got Chris Sarandon, you got Mary Beth Hurt, you got all these actors in here, and this really does not feel like a movie I'd expect from Isabel Merchant and James Ivory. Like, these are the guys who are behind mostly period pieces and all that, and despite the fact that Bernadette Peters usually, whenever she's in anything, she's usually pretty good, this was not really all that good. It was, yeah, it's pretty bad. So, yeah, you can avoid Slaves of New York. You can avoid Rooftops as well. And, yeah. I wish I had more on these, but I really don't. And with that said, that's pretty much where we wrap this up with. 3 more movies to look at next week, including Dead Bang, Shelley Long, and True Beverly Hills, 976 Evil. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, hit the playlist on the next page or check out the previous episode. And I'll see you guys for the next one. So until then, take care.